So now let me take few queries of the students which sir would answer. So the first query related to central excise is that central excise is either specific or ad valorem. However, most of the goods are assessed on ad valorem basis. Please explain what is ad valorem basis.
Okay, so better I would use board once again. You see, levy part is over, then assessment part. Assessment means determination of duty, ascertainment of amount of duty, right? Under excise, the methodology to make assessment, if you look at assessment methods or ways and means of making assessment. This assessment under excise is number one, based on specific rates. Assessment based on specific rates. Number two, ad valorem rates. Number three, based on production capacity. This production capacity, so recently 2008, they introduced it for gutka, pan masala, etc. under section 3A. This is based on production capacity of a machine, per machine per month, and this is mandatory also for a few products, gutka, pan masala, jarda tobacco and chewing tobacco. Apart from these, if you look at specific rates means based on quantity. So based on quantity, so per kilo, it may be per quinta or per ton or number wise or square meter, like this. Unit of measurement may be kilo, quinta, number, it may be number, it may be area, etc. Say for example, coffee per kilo, sugar per quinta, molasses per ton, certain varieties of cement also per ton, number, cigarettes for example, 1000 cigarettes, there is a rate. Sometimes based on the length also, millimeter, cigarettes, marble slabs and tiles, square meter, like this. A few products for which duty amount is ascertained on the basis of quantity. Here valuation is not necessary, but this is applicable only for a few products in India and very few products, because it is not practicable. When there is a large number of varieties of products are there, this is not going to work out. And the products like petrol, diesel, there are no varieties, petrol and diesel. It is convenient, no doubt. Per liter there is a rate. Petrol, diesel, now we are applying specific rates only. But majority of the products are such that there are large number of varieties with different qualities, different prices. It is not practicable. It is not practicable for the government also to revise. That's the reason why in most of the countries in the world, they apply ad valorem rates. These ad valorem rates are nothing but percentage rates on value. So ad valorem here means when you are adding tax on the value of the entity, based on the value, that is called ad valorem. You are adding tax on the value, that is ad valorem. So here valuation is necessary. So you have to value the goods and then only you can apply the particular rate, percentage normally. And this is most popular, this is more convenient, this is more flexible also, more scientific also, because it takes into consideration the price fluctuations. Suppose the material cost has increased, labor cost has increased, price increases, automatically tax increases. Suppose you have produced something defective goods, and for the defective goods you are selling at a low price, and automatically the tax liability will also be low. So it will consider, it takes into account, it has a cushioning effect. That's the reason why this is most popular, and for the most of the products in India on excise, ad valorem method is followed. If you look at customs also, the GAT recommended this ad valorem method only, right? And production capacity I have already discussed. Now important thing is under ad valorem method, There are, under ad valorem scheme, there are three methods. Mostly ad valorem method is also alone is followed. What are the three methods? These are known as valuation methods. So these valuation methods are: number one, tariff value, section 3.2, articles of jewelry and ready-made garments. For them it is applicable right now, and 30% is being taken as value. And whereas MRP values based on MRPs of consumer goods specified, notified, around 140 plus varieties have been notified so far. So this is under section 4A. And last but not least, transaction value method. So you have to be very careful about this transaction value method, and particularly rules under section 4. This is the general rule. Generally transaction value is applicable, but there are exceptional cases. Consumer goods, that's an exception. Consumer goods notified under section 4A, sold in prepackaged form, for them section 4A is applicable with abatement. And another exception is tariff values under section 3.2. These tariff values are notified by government, and for articles of jewelry other than precious metals and also ready-made garments, these tariff values are applicable. It's okay. So you have to read and understand them thoroughly. Particularly you should be able to solve the practical questions also. This is a chapter with practical questions. You should be able to understand that, right? Thank you.
Sir, as the duties keep on changing, excise duty, right, every finance act,
Right.
and in the middle also. So there is a one query that if at the time of manufacture an article is excisable, but at the time of removal it is not, then what to do? How
very good
it
question.
is calculated?
It's a very, very good question. One of the beautiful questions, and this is always often a doubt in the minds of the students. See, there are certain case laws. One was Wallace Flour Mills Limited, and next again VST Industries Limited. In these two cases, Supreme Court has elaborately explained this concept. And in fact, time of manufacture and time of removal, there is a time gap. Always it happens. Say today you have manufactured, there is no guarantee that you are going to sell today itself. It's not possible. Sometimes it takes time. It takes years to clear the goods. And rates are subject to fluctuation because of the budgets. Every year there is a budget. And in the meantime also there can be intermittent changes. So now I will show you, I will give you two examples, and in these two examples I will show you how to determine the rate, how to determine the status. Look at this. There is a product X and Y, let us say. There is a product X and product Y. There are two products. Say, for example, date of manufacture. On the date of manufacture, the product is attracting, say, nil rate or totally exempt. It means sale. And in the case of Y, it is dutiable at 12%. Say date of removal, date of clearance, we can say. Date of DOR means date of removal or date of clearance. Suppose it has become 12% and it has become nil or fully exempt. So what should be the position here? So what should be the rate applicable? Okay. So what would be your answer if you apply rule 5, that is rule 5 of central excise rules? Relevant date for rate of duty is rate applicable on the date of removal, latest rate. Accordingly you have to make assessment. So here in the case of X, applicable rate is nearest to latest, that is 12%, and in the case of Y it is nil, or you can say exempt. So In the case of X, date of manufacture, on the date of manufacture it was nil, but on the date of removal there was a change in rate, 12%. So with the 12% you have to pay duty. You have to make assessment and pay duty, right? And in the case of Y, it is nil. Why? Because Rule 5 of Central Excise Rules 2002 says relevant date for rate of duty is date of removal, and this it was emphasized by Supreme Court earlier in Wallace Flour Mills Limited case. The same principle has been adopted here. Here there should be no confusion. Everybody knows this to this extent. But you see, what happens if a product is accessible at one stage and non-accessible at another stage? That is possible. So let me come to that also. This query relates to this. Say product A and product B, and I say on the date of manufacture the product was non-accessible. You understand the difference between non-accessible and nil rated goods? Nil rated goods are accessible goods because they are in the tariff act, and nil rate is also a rate of duty. You should know that. A non-accessible, and here I put it as again non-accessible. Okay. In the case of A, what happened was, you have manufactured a product which was non-accessible. As per the law prevailing at the time of manufacture, the product was non-accessible, means the product was not there in the tariff act, but it was introduced at a later stage and it is attracting 12%. Then what to do with this? And diametrically opposite situation. In the case of product B, at the time of manufacture it was attracting 12%, but at the time of removal it has been seen that it has become non-accessible. It has been removed from the tariff act. So what to do with this? So a product manufactured by a manufacturer A, product A is manufactured by the manufacturer. What to do with this? Here the answer should be opposite, different from the earlier one. This is non-accessible. Why? What is the logic? At the time of manufacture, as per the law prevailing at the time, the product was non-accessible and it will continue to enjoy the status of non-accessibility no matter when it is going to be removed. Date of removal is irrelevant for that. Otherwise, what happens? It would be a big hardship to the manufacturer because it is going retrospective. So it creates a lot of confusion, uncertainty in the mind of manufacturers. So today you are manufacturing not knowing what happens tomorrow. Tomorrow it may become suddenly an accessible product and you have to rush, you have to get yourself registered, you have to maintain the records, formalities, all excise will be trouncing, it will be sitting upon your head. So that uncertainty should not be there. So that it cannot be made taxable or accessible retrospectively. It cannot go back. Say for example, in the month of January you manufactured a particular lot which is non-accessible and it became accessible by May after the budget. So you cannot go back, you cannot ask that fellow to pay duty. Unfortunately, he could not remove that lot before May. So no. For the lot manufactured in January, that was non-accessible, that will continue to enjoy the status of non-accessibility. Whatever you manufactured right from January to May till it became accessible, that lot continues to be non-accessible, no duty is payable logically. And from May onwards, the moment it became accessible, that from May onwards whatever you produce that became accessible, there was a levy and you pay duty on that. So because there was no levy at the time of manufacture, there cannot be any assessment and consequently no question of any duty payable on this. So that you understand the logic. And in the case of B, you see, look at this. At the time of manufacture there was 12%, so naturally there was levy. So it cannot escape liability, even it becomes non-accessible at the time of removal. Because there was levy, duty is payable. So to that extent, whatever be the lot you produced during the time when it was accessible and taxable at 12%, you have to pay for that lot. For example, you manufactured in the month of May from May to August, say 10 tons, and there was levy. Naturally, you have made a levy also. So on 10 tons, you have imposed duty, and you are removing in the month of September, and at the time of removal, it became non-accessible, no matter. On these 10 tons, necessarily you have to pay duty. You can't escape liability. You understand the logic? So there should not be any confusion. Thank you, ma'am. It's a very good question.
Thank
I
you for
congratulate the
explaining
student.
it.